Welcome to Capture the World with Dee. Interviews with companies and individuals to learn more about digitally capturing the built world. Video, drone, 3D tours, pictures, panoramas, and more. And now your host, a social influencer and community activist, Dee Johnson.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Capture the World with Dee. I'm your host, Dee Johnson, and today we have a special guest appearance from my little kitty, Bella. Say hi, Bella. She wants to be part of the action. All right. My guest today is the founder of SeekBeak, a software platform that gives you the power to bring your photos to life by creating interactive experiences and virtual tours using 360 panoramas and standard images. I was supposed to be joined by both founders, but one of them is apparently sick in bed, so our thoughts and prayers are going out to her. But anyway, without further ado, please help me welcome the other half of SeekBeak, Tim Allen.
Hi, Dee. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for joining me. Give my best to Jen.
I will. I know it's only me today, so I have to up my game. Apparently. I don't want to have to try and make up for her, but I will. And yeah, Jen's sick with a cold right now, unfortunately.
Nobody can make up for Jen, and it won't be the same without her. But we'll manage somehow.
No. I was saying that I was going to maybe try and superimpose her later, or get a cardboard cutout. But we'll see. What happens after post-production editing.
All right. Well, as you all know, Tim and Jen founded SeekBeak, which is basically a virtual tour platform. This is our fourth session with them. And last time we talked a little bit about overlays, and you showed us the space turkey.
The space turkey, yep.
Which was hilarious. So if you didn't watch that episode, I'll put the link to it in the description below. You should watch it. The space turkey is awesome.
I actually got a few emails from people that had watched the space turkey and said it was pretty funny.
It is. Everybody needs to see that.
Yeah. So today on the agenda, we're going to go over a couple of the features and updates that we've done since we last chatted. So a lot of them are quality of life improvements. So they're not as huge as the overlays announcement was, where you can make your own user interfaces and stuff, but it does make clients' lives easier and does add a little bit of polish to things. So I'm going to kind of whiz through those, if that's cool.
Yes. So you have to remember that a lot of what SeekBeak does is a direct result of actual real life customers saying, hey, what about this? We need that. And it's, of course, the best way to build your product. So.
Yes, because I'm not out in the field, unlike the people who use the platform. So getting like real world feedback and client feedback is, it's fantastic. And, if more than one person asks for it, then the odds are that there's plenty more that are also thinking about it. So yeah, we absolutely implement a lot of feature requests we get from clients. Okay, so should I share my screen then?
Oh yes, hold on one second.
Let's do that.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I got my little list of thingies to cover here. So because we, because we have a lot of corporate and business clients, one of the things we've done, why is this giving me Google Chrome? Okay, let's try this.
Hold on, I think I'm trying to share. Let me not share.
Okay. Oh, now you're sharing.
Okay. Hold on one second.
All right. So while you're sorting that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's try it. So because we have a lot of corporate and larger clients, they of course have the legal departments that require certain things. Oh, here we go. Open system preferences to share my screen. All right, I will do that. And so we had a lot of requests to implement a cookie consent manager because Because of the GDPR and all those other things, now when you visit a website, it has to ask for your permission for cookies, or legal gets involved, and yada, yada, yada. So the first thing on the list, boring as it may be, but very, very necessitative, needy if you're in that space, is a new cookie consent manager that you can toggle on and off, where anybody who views your content can say, yes, I want the cookies or whatever. Basically, it ticks the legal boxes, right? So if legal's coming down on you and says, oh, we need cookie management for our virtual tours or virtual experiences, it's now in there. So I've just popped open our blog post here. As a side note, we put all of our new features and updates and stuff in our blog, and we update it a lot. So if people are wanting to see what we're up to, we have our newsletter and our blog as well. I'm not a big fan of pop-ups, but we had to put it in there.
Yeah, I've seen that happen more and more lately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it could have been done in a much nicer way with, you know, the people who implemented the law, but it is what it is. It is what it is currently. You can see my dashboard and everything fine, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's talk. I'm going to do the big one first. And so the big one is Polygon hotspots that we have always been 3D. But we also have our other hotspots, which are, I'm going to go to this one here just for the heck of it. The point hotspot, right? Which is, I click the edit button and I click add, and I can say, okay, I'm going to add a point hotspot. For example, if I wanted to find out more about this mountain, I could put one there, right? So this is what we call a point hotspot, right? So the issue with point hotspots are they're great because they're very clear. They're HTML, which means they use the browser to render it. So the text is always crystal clear. We have a lot of accessibility settings as well. So it's very accessible. So screen readers will read it. It also adheres to the browser. If the browser is set to like old man zoom, you know, as you get a bit older, you have to bump your text up and stuff. The hotspots will also become bigger because they listen to the browser and would resize. So they have a lot of pros. But what's happening, and what a lot of people are finding, especially these days, as they're trying to cram more information on mobile phone screens and stuff like that, is that these would get very cramped very, very quickly, right? You know, if you were selling, like in a retail space, if you had products and you had a bunch of hotspots all next to each other, it would get real cramped on the screen. And so what we've done is we've now added the ability to make these 3D. So just to show you what happens. This hotspot stays the exact same size, regardless if I zoom in and out, right? So it's kind of a weird optical illusion, but this is staying the exact same size, whereas the image behind it is zooming in and out, which is great a lot of the times, but sometimes you want it to zoom in with the image. So just to show you what I'm talking about here, let's take this hotspot and I'll put it somewhere, let's say, where are we? Okay, here we go. So there's a little storefront here. So let's say I'm doing a tour of this downtown area here, and I want someone to be able to click to go into the store. So I could have enter store, and then I can, of course, change the icon to, you know, maybe a dollar sign. Everybody knows what a dollar sign is. And then there's a little tab down here called 3D, which is going to toggle between the default and the 3D view. So if I click that, you'll see that it instantly becomes a little bit bigger because I'm already zoomed into the image. So if we just leave it at that default setting, and I zoom in and out, you can see that it's now magically sizing as well, right? So that's great. You also have other options as well. So right now it kind of looks like it's a little bit off center because the way the photo was taken, the window is a little bit off. So we have extra little hidden options, which lets you do, because we're in 3D land now, of course, we can adjust all the 3D options. So you can adjust all around all the axes, all three of them, right? So I can tilt it, I can adjust the pitch, the yaw, whatever, the roll, and I can kind of make it line up. There we go, with that window. Right, and so I'll save this. And now the enter store sign, as we pan around, you can see here, it still maintains that position on the window. It looks like it's on the window regardless of where we're looking at it.
That's
right? So you
cool.
can see how it distorts and tilts and stuff to fit on the window.
Very cool.
Magic.
Yeah.
Magic 3D, right? So that's super, super handy. It has its, 3D also has its cons. Zooming out, of course, you can get to the point if you're on a very small screen where it doesn't become readable. So like everything in life, it depends when you want to use it, right? So it's completely up to you whether or not you want to use it. But now the option's there. Of course, you can have both of them simultaneously, and there's no detrimental effects for doing that. Of course, we still have our favorites like the polygon hotspots, which are always 3D. You know, for example, if I wanted to do a polygon hotspot and cover up this sign here, which is a great segue into something else. You can see if I zoom in now, excuse me, I'm gonna click accept. All these shapes and all these lines are all extremely smooth now. So before, they were a little bit jaggy because what we've done is we have turned on a little feature called anti-aliasing. Do you know what anti-aliasing is?
No, I don't.
Well, it's super nerdy, let me tell you. So anti-aliasing, in computer graphics, if you draw a line, it's going to be made of pixels, right? So you kind of get like that stare effect, right? As it draws those pixels. What anti-aliasing does is it smooths out by drawing like almost semi-transparent pixels beside it. So it kind of fakes having a very smooth line in 3D. So it does take a little bit more oomph on your computer to do all that stuff because it is generating all these extra lines and whatnot. But we figured that everybody, you know, even mobile phones are much faster than when we first started this 6 years ago. So what we've done now is we've turned on anti-aliasing for everything. So like these little circles here are very smooth. These lines and all your polygon hotspots, if I was to save this, you can't see any kind of pixelation on it. It's very smooth. So again, it doesn't seem like a huge change, but it is a nice quality of life improvement that makes everything look a little nicer. Of course, we still have the ability to put videos on things or images or whatever you like. However, another excellent segue is file folders. So I have my team files section here. And so I'm going to go into my main area, my main team files here. I'm going to jump in. So team files is the area in SeekBeak where you upload files for your team, right? And those files can be shared and used across all of your content. So up until last week, actually, it was basically just a big dump site where you would upload all your stuff, and you can search by name, but eventually, you know, if you had hundreds of images in there, it gets a little tedious. And so what we've done now is we've implemented the ability to have folders, much like a real file system, right? So if I made like a folder called Dee Stuff, then Dee Stuff is here. And I can put in this corporate banner just by dragging it. Boom. And now if I click and go into Dee Stuff, there's your corporate banner. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So can you change permissions and stuff, and like who can see which folders?
There's permissions. So, excellent question. We have role-based access. So if we go into the team settings here in your memberships, the people that you invite to your team, you have various roles that you can assign them that would say, yes, you can delete files or you can just view them, et cetera, et cetera. So you can assign roles to people, and then that will give them access or not to whether or not they can add, edit, delete, things like that.
Cool. Very nice.
Yes. And it's super easy. So we tried to make it, file systems in a browser stink most of the time, right? It's usually very cumbersome. And so we tried to make this as easy as possible. So it's literally, and this works on mobile as well. It's literally drag and drop, drag it in there. You can also do folders and subfolders. Like for example, if I wanted to put fun images inside of Dee Stuff, great. So now I have Dee Stuff, I've got the banner, but then I also have this other folder of fun images where you can find pictures of Bert and the Transformers, stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So it makes things very easy. And then just to kind of drag things out, I can drag that back to the parent folder and now fun images is back there. So again, I mean, it's nerdy, but if you're using the software daily, that is a huge lifesaver because it saves you having to search through hundreds of your files.
Yeah.
So if I go back to the downtown guy here, and that file folder is replicated everywhere where you can pick files now. So if I go back to this Cascade Hall sign and I want to change the background, you can see that here's Dee's stuff, right? So I can put the corporate banner in there, but what if it was I don't know, like a doomsday timer? There we go. So now we have the timer that counts down on the town hall. Right, and because it's now using the anti-aliasing, it's nice and smooth, regardless of how you look at it and where you are.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah. So that was like three features all rolled into one there.
Wow, nice. Now it looks like Times Square where it has the TV screen.
That's right. Oh yeah. See, you could throw some ads in there. You can approach these guys, tell them you're going to throw some targeted advertising on there.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Upsell. Right, so the 3-point hotspots were the big one. Anti-aliasing, team files, the cookie consent so far. What else is on my list here? Oh, this is a good one. Complex scripts. So what the heck is a complex script, you say, Tim? It is, if you get an embed from YouTube, for example, it's a little snippet of code and it's an iframe, right? So you plop it in. Let's do a different hotspot here. Let's say we have what do you want to click on? So many little things in there. Okay, let's do that.
That's actually a nice town. Is that where you live?
No, this is a little bit away. This is in Banff.
Oh, okay.
Banff, Alberta.
That explains
and it is a gorgeous little street.
That's like a ski resort, right?
It itself is like a very, I want to say provincial park, but it's very like heritage parkland, right? You can't do anything in it other than enjoy nature, which is nice. So if you want to go to the ski hills and all that, it's a 20-minute, half-hour drive from here. So this is kind of the hub where there's a lot of hotels and gorgeous scenery and stuff like that. Let's say I'm going to put a hotspot over here, and we're going to have we'll put it in the window again, just because that's what we like to do. So we have all the hotspot types here, and if we pick an embed type, this is where you put your YouTube embed code, right? Or your Vimeo or a website or whatever. Mm-hmm. So those are what we call simple embeds, where it's just like the iframe tag and it just opens up and it's good to go. What we've been finding is a lot of the more advanced things, especially around online e-commerce, shopping and stuff like that, they have these very complicated things where they want you to copy like a whole bunch of HTML code, and a whole bunch of CSS code, and a whole bunch of JavaScript code, and they want it all just to magically kind of work. And we couldn't do that up until recently. And so now we have this whole idea of what's called a complex script. So if what you're trying to embed is not like your normal iframe or anything like that, there's a little toggle in here where you can say, okay, well, allow for external scripts. And so what we've done, you can see a little pop-up there that says if you have HTML, CSS, etc. And so what we've done is we've written a little parser, which in the back end it says, okay, well, I need to execute all these scripts from these other clients, and it'll run it. And I'm going to show you an example that I've set up. So yesterday, I set up a store on Shopify called Snorkelork, which is maybe SeekBeak's store. If I was to make a store, I might call it Snorkelork. And so Snorkelork has the store where they're selling some speakers and they're selling some T-shirts. And so this is, you can just see I'm just in this trial one here. All I've done is just add a couple products just to demo this. So what you can do now is when you do their buy now button in Shopify, for example, it generates this whole bunch of gobbledygook code. which is this going to be a quick one? No, I want to quit. Take my word for it. It generates a bunch of gobbledygook code. So what we're going to do is we're going to flick back over to here. So this was a place I used to work at a while ago, electronic music school. And so it also had a retail section in it. So what I've been noticing is there's a lot more, because of COVID, there's a lot more retail people coming into the virtual tour space because they've either had to shut down their bricks and mortar store, or they've had to kind of tone things down, or they can't, they can have 2 people in store as opposed to the 30 or whatever they're used to. So there is this kind of influx of retail people coming on board, which is great. And especially now, because what you can do is, where's the hats? Oh yeah, so here's the hats. So I took that code from Shopify and I popped it in here, and you can see it's just blah, 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 blah. But I've turned on the embed option, and it's a little warning here saying, you can really mess things up, but I know what I'm doing. So now what happens is when I click that, I got to get out of editing mode. It pops open the Shopify widget, right? So great that we kind of had that previously with our e-commerce hotspot, but what you get now is if I want to buy, let's say I want to buy 2 white t-shirts, and I say add it to cart, boom, it pops open the Shopify shopping cart on the side here. And so I can close that, and then I can kind of close that. And now I've got the Shopify basket here, so I can continue through my virtual tour and be like, oh, you know what? I would sure really like some speakers. Maybe I will add a couple of these $650 speakers. Of course, you need 2 of them because we listen in stereo. I'll add those to my cart. Poof. And now it's just added into my cart. So this thing persists across your virtual tour. So, if there's other sections of the store as people are going to, they could just add them to their cart. And Shopify, of course, manages all that. So you click checkout, and then it pops open another window where you enter your credit card details, and you're done.
Okay,
so
people have been asking for this for a long time, right?
There you go.
How do you combine retail sales with virtual tours? Here you go.
Well, and this all goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? Where it's what people are asking for. And so I've started to get emails from people saying, hey, I need to be able to sell things.
Yep. And
we don't want to, we want to do it this way, we don't want to do it that way, blah, blah, blah. And so that's how this has kind of come about. And then it's extremely flexible because it's basically just executing whatever script Shopify gives you or whatever e-commerce platform you're using, right? So
this is great.
It's super cool. And the fact that this little cart persists across everything as well is an extra bonus.
Wow. So one of the things I do is I volunteer at the Lucille Packard Children's Hospital gift shop. And not everybody can come to the hospital, right? But a lot of people want to buy gifts for people who are in the hospital. So this would be fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. Well, looks like we'll have to have a chat offline after this.
But there's so many instances for retail, especially now with COVID. Like people don't want to go out. This is perfect if you want to add this to your already existing brick and mortar, right? So now I can shop online and it's visual, right? That's so much better than like when I go shopping like at Costco. It's like page upon page. It's like I'd rather like pretend like I'm walking through the store and just pick stuff off the shelves.
Correct. And like I was actually speaking to someone yesterday about it, and once you set it up, it sits there 24 hours a day letting people buy from you, right? Like it's not open 8 till 4 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's there sitting there, and people can buy things, and then you get the nighttime people who are doing shift work where they can't normally come to your store or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And now this opens all that opportunity up for you.
That's great. And then you could put a video of a person for each one of those and they can describe what it is, like we do at the gift shop, right?
Yep. You could even have a turkey pop up from behind the counter. Anything you want, really. And that's the beauty of it. And not only that, but because it's using Shopify to pull all this data, right? So if I decide to change the price of these speakers to $749, you don't have to go and update SeekBeak after the fact because it's pulling all that info from Shopify. So everything your everything gets updated automatically while you're just updating the one's place.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Cool. Yes. So that's been highly requested, and I foresee a lot more retail coming on board and doing stuff like this.
Yes. Yes.
And this was also kind of the catalyst for doing the 3D hotspots as well, because I use this as an example. Hold on, I'll show you. So this is a flat image. So don't forget that SeekBeak doesn't just do 360s. We also do flat images as well, right? So this is just a normal 2D image.
That's a hot picture, Tim.
That is a hot picture. But you can see that even now, my shopping cart has persisted even while I'm going to different areas, right? So now, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be listening to the speakers and wearing my new white T-shirts. It should be nice if I bought some hot sauce as well. I'll add those to cart. So I used this as an example in a video I had done previously on the SeekBeak YouTube channel, where I had buy now buttons on the hotspot bottles. But of course, if you're on a mobile phone viewing an image like this, where you've got 30 products, the hotspots were way too big, and you had to, you're fat fingering everything. You add 2 carts. So this is again where the 3D hotspots come in handy, because then they will size down to fit on the hotspot bottles and stuff like that.
So is each one of those bottles a hotspot?
It is not, because I don't have that patience with me. But if I was doing it for my own store, then yeah, you absolutely could do that.
Yeah, because then the customer just clicks on the image on the bottle they want. Yep. Right. Perfect.
And in that case, you'd probably use like a polygon hotspot to outline the bottle. Yeah. But if you wanted to, you could absolutely use one of these as well, right? In that case, you would even do something tricky like, change the icon to something. We'll just use our $sign one because everybody knows that. And then flick it to 3D. And then under the options here, you have this option to scale it, right? So you could scale it to there. And now as people zoom in and out, that doesn't get in the way of the other hotspot bottles if you were to line it up to the other ones.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah. Add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, and you're done.
So when you go to pay, when you've got stuff from different stores, how does that work? Is that
so this would be the assumption that it would be at the same store. Oh, okay. So yeah, the cart is going to use whatever Shopify code you're using. So it would, if you had multiple stores, you would set it up to use multiple Shopify things and you have multiple carts.
That's cool. So it's like it's going to not forget what you actually put in your cart.
Yeah, which is great.
Yes.
Because that's been something, a shopping cart has been something that people have been asking for a while.
Absolutely.
And, implementing a payment there's reasons why there's entire companies dedicated to just having a shopping cart function, right? Like it's not an easy thing to do, plus being a payment processor, plus, all the fraud detection, everything that's needed. Let somebody else handle that. So that's what SeekBeak does now is integrate with those people that do put all that work into doing stuff like that. And we stay being good at what we do, and they can stay being good at what they do.
That's a good attitude.
Yeah. What's the saying? Something about no man is an island or something like that, right? Like you can't do it all yourself. And if other people have put in all the work, you can use that work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any questions about any of that stuff?
No, I think this is terrific. I mean, people have been asking for this for a long time. So this opens up, it's not just retail. I mean, you can put things in the cart that are free, right? Like tickets. So you can count people who are coming to an event. So many uses for this. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it integrates, it should integrate with almost anyone that has the ability to have an integration like Shopify does, like a buy now button. I know that PayPal buttons work as well, right? Like the PayPal buy now button, or even the PayPal tip button if you're an aspiring photographer who's working for tips or something like that. But if something doesn't work and you're trying it as a client, send us an email and we'll get it sorted out. And because that's the thing with code and all this nerdy stuff, right, is that there's a cajillion ways to do things. And so we think we've catered for a lot of it, but if something isn't working, then yeah, we'll sort it out for sure.
So that was that JavaScript or was that HTML that you put in that?
So it's everything, which is why we needed to have this whole custom setup for it. So if I go back to that store, which was e-commerce, I believe. Yes. So this is why it was tricky, because what happens is if I go to the speaker hotspot here and I edit it. So there's this div, which is HTML, and then there's script, which is JavaScript, and then at the bottom there's also CSS.
Wow.
So it's basically like you're dumping a bit of almost a fully functional web page.
Yeah. So this code that you get comes from the e-commerce site, right?
Right here. Yep. So if I go create a buy button, and I say this, I'm in Shopify now. So if I select my t-shirt, it'll give me some options, right? And so this is kind of what the demo looks like. And then I can change things like the layout, the text, the titles, image size. So if I change it to add this now, and then say next. Here's the code it gives me, right? Copy, paste, and that's all you need to do.
So you don't have to know anything about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You just need to be able to copy and paste.
Correct.
And most of the third-party applications will give you this, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's the beauty, is that it is code, but you don't have to know what you're doing. Yeah. Right? You just hit that copy button there. You go into SeekBeak and you go and you paste it in there, and that's it. That's all you need to do.
Wow, so nice, so easy.
Very easy. Yeah, what's the other?
That's cool. There's so many cool things in SeekBeak, and there's you and Jen, of course.
And there's me and Jen. Yes, there is. Actually, it's been interesting the past couple months, because there's been some competitors who have been announcing features, that we've had for 3 or 4 years already. And so a lot of people call us their secret weapon, which is kind of fun for them because they get to use it, but not so fun for us because that means that other people don't really know about it. So we've got all these crazy features and usability and this and that, but now we need to tell more people about it.
So the people that know you love you. I have to tell you that.
Yeah.
And the two of you together, you're the best. And not only do you guys have great personalities and you care, but you listen to what people want, right? So you're creating something that's actually useful. So yeah, and your product is terrific. So I hear a lot of positives about you. So yes, we do need to get the word out about SeekBeak.
Great. Well, that's good to hear, actually. Yes, and that's the thing, right? Like once people find out about it, we try and get to know them, establish a bit of a rapport and a business relationship. And I mean, we've met a lot of really nice people and a lot of cool people all over the globe doing crazy stuff. There's a university in Germany that signed up 2 months ago where they're using it to test. They get people to put on a VR helmet and they show them a 360 in SeekBeak, and then they taste different types of beer, and then they measure their response to how the image they're looking at affects the taste of the beer. And I said, when can I come over there and try this out? Right, but like the most random stuff, and that's what's so fun about having a tool like this is hearing and seeing what everybody's using it for, because it's boggling.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Can you just see them putting on the goggles and spinning around and then falling over?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I'd go through 5 or 6 different beers, and then it would be a whole different
situation. Your ratings would definitely get better.
Yeah, I think so. What do we have for time here? Oh, we got 10.
We're good. Do you have more?
I do have a couple more. You want me to whiz through a couple more? Are you getting bored yet?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so let's talk about moire patterns, which sounds boring.
It sounds very high tech.
It is high tech. Hold on, I still have my shopping cart. I'm going to empty my shopping cart and then it disappears. So, no, sorry, none of those. Close that and poof, it goes away. So this is a rendering that we got from these guys at Studio In-House. And the reason I'm showing this is because it has a lot of patterns, like texture patterns, and it's got a lot of lines that are very, very, very tight together. So what happens in digital imaging and whatnot is that if I zoom in here, you can see when I'm zoomed in, let's pretend that each of these lines takes up like 1 pixel on my screen, right? If I zoom out, there's not enough pixels on my screen to display those lines. So you start to get this weird kind of shimmering effect, like as I move back and forth. I don't know if you can see that through the Zoom.
Yeah, I can see
it. Excuse me. This one in the back too has it, and this one has it. As I move, you get those weird moire patterns showing up. So if you think about it, it makes sense because each line to display normally needs a pixel, but as you zoom out, your screen's like, hey, I got no more pixels. And so they kind of flicker on and off trying to display or figure out which one to display. So this is a very common phenomenon. And let's say I ran an architectural firm and I had this embedded on my website, right? And so it was a little embed on my website. This is a 10,000 by 5,000 pixel image, and now I'm trying to smush it down into a 300 pixel iframe. So you're going to get a ton of this moire pattern. So there is a way to kind of not solve it altogether, but kind of mitigate it, and that is to do what we're calling image smoothing. So I've opened up my image properties here, and under preferences, there's a new preference called image smoothing. So I'm going to turn it on. So when I turn it on, pay attention to the little pillar there. I'll flick it on. Oof. Right, and so you can see right away that something changed. I'll save it and I'll get it back out of here. But now, as I go back and forth, you can see. You can see it still is shimmering a little bit, but the lines are much more distinct. There's not those kind of wavy patterns in there, and the back one is much better. You can barely see that flickering, right? And so what we've done is we've applied almost like a little bit of a blurring filter on it in order to kind of take that away. And so if you have images that have these very fine lines on them where you're getting these strange patterns, you can flick on this image smoothing and it will mitigate a huge percentage of that actually, which is really nice. So like everything, there's a downside as well, right? Because we're smoothing the image, what's happening is we're literally smoothing it. So if you have extremely sharp, crisp lines, they might appear like a little bit blurred now. So again, it's a toss-up, right? There's no super fix for everything. It's just kind of what depends on your content. With that in mind, there's also another feature that I will show you quickly, which kind of tries to take the best of both worlds. And so if you remember, what causes this is when things get smaller than the available pixels on the screen, right? And so what we've done is, if you go back in here again, there's a thing called dynamic mode, which will only turn on that image smoothing if the browser is at a certain size, right? So if the browser's big and you don't have to worry about those patterns appearing because it doesn't happen, then you get to view your image at its super crystal clear quality. However, if you embed it or someone's on a really dinky mobile phone screen or something that's really small, then it kicks in. So right now I've got it set to 800. So if the screen gets smaller than 800 by 800 or whatever, then the image smoothing kicks in and it gets rid of those patterns for you, because at that resolution, you can't really see any blurring anyways. Wow. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. It's very detailed though.
It's I know.
Like I would not have noticed that, to be quite honest with you. But yes, that's very
And this is the thing, right? Like there are people like, especially these architectural guys that are doing these renderings, they want everything still clear, super perfect, because, you know, it could be a multi-cajillion-dollar project for their client, and they want it, of course, to look as good as possible. And I totally get that.
Absolutely.
And so this kind of would help cater for that, where, you know, at larger monitors, everything looks great. And then the smaller monitors, hopefully now everything looks great as well, because we've got this dynamic image smoothing in there as well.
That's so cool. You've been busy.
Always busy. So yes, like you said, you know, super nerdy, super technical, but there is that group of people that really would use something like this. And most of the time, people are going to leave it off because, you know, pictures of everything else are going to look fine.
Okay, wait. I can do that art.
Yeah. Yeah, you and me both. That's about the extent. That's about the extent of my art. This is a really great rendering.
Is that really the art they have hanging on their wall?
No, this is all fake. This is all just rendering.
Oh.
This doesn't exist. This is all just spat out of a 3D program.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's really, really well done.
It is. Wow.
Yeah, they do a great job. Okay, so what do I got? Well, I'll do one more thing, and then I'll wrap things up. I could keep talking forever about it. Okay, so last time we talked about overlays, right?
Yes.
So overlays are, for those who don't know, overlays are SeekBeak's ability to allow you to create your own user interface. So you don't have to use ours. You can create your own. You know, for example, I think it's this one. If I go edit here, I have a very simple back to menu button that I made, right? So I'm going to use this in a tour where they click it at any point and they can go back to a certain screen. And so what I've done is I set up a couple actions in here: a hover on, a hover out, and on click. And right now, so it doesn't do anything, it just kind of animates so I can see what it's doing. So if I go into the preview mode here and I hover it, you can see that, yes, indeed, I'm actually hovering it. Mm-hmm. I click it, it spins around to let me know that I clicked it, right? Very simple. Now, up until then, if I go back to this render here, up until now, if you were giving a guided tour, I'm going to turn that overlay on quickly. So I'll just go to overlays and I'll say yes. Pick my custom overlay. There it is. Right, so it still behaves the same as it does in the other one. Mm-hmm. Now, do you know what tour guide is? Have you heard of tour guide before?
No.
Dee. So tour guide is something we did at the start of COVID. Hi, Jen. She just gave me one of these.
I gotta love Jen.
All right, I'll wrap it up. All right, so tour guide is I made it before, just as COVID was starting, and it's basically, it gives you live video.
Okay.
Chat,
okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like FaceTime, where you can take people through your 360s, for example.
Yes.
So I'll show you quick what has happened with tour guide, and then we'll be done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share my entire screen now so you can see what's going on. Stop sharing. I'm going to share my desktop. Yes, share. All right, so now you see my whole desktop, yes?
Yes.
So I'm going to create a new browser window, and I'll do an incognito one. I'm going to start a tour guide session with myself. Right? So I'll say, okay, start a new tour. So this would be like me sending a link out to a client or to students or whoever, right? So I'll say, okay, I'm Tim. I'm just going to do a text chat for now. I'm not going to do audio and video because I think that would screw up our Zoom in here. And I'll paste that link in here. And it will load this up. And I'll say that I am now Tim 2. And I'm just going to join for text chat. Right? So now this guy on the left is the host. So if I move him to look over here, the guy on the right looks at Dee's art over here.
Yeah.
There we go. So up until a couple days ago, tour guide only interacted with what was in SeekBeak. But now, as of a couple days ago, it can now interact and it will reflect what you're doing with any of the overlays that you've created as well. So any custom user interface you've made, as I hover over this one, you can see that it's being reflected in the clients. And as I click it, it also clicks in the client. So if you've done up your own custom user interfaces, which are all super fancy, your client is going to be able to see what you're doing as well as you're guiding the tour. So that's brand new. And it's, again, not a super whiz-bang feature, but for those people who have made custom interfaces and whatnot, it's great because now you can have menus sliding open and pictures appearing and all that other stuff.
And space turkeys.
And space turkeys and rotating menus. There's no limit. There's no limit to what you can do.
You have to watch the other episode to look at what we're talking about.
That's right. Yes. If you don't know what the heck we're talking about, go watch the other month's episode with us. All right. So that's I went on and on and on. I'm going to stop sharing.
Excellent. Oh, wow. So lots of things happening. You've been busy. It's good that she's still locking you in your dungeon basement office, right?
Yes, and I'm still getting the remote time warning.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Say hi to Jen.
I will.
It's been very informative. You'll have to come back again and update us some more. And next time, Jen will have to join us.
I know.
So,
I'll wish her all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you've learned a lot. I certainly have. Again, check out. I'll put a link to the other video with the space turkey. It was pretty funny. You have to watch that one. And stay safe. Thanks for joining. This has been Capture the World with Dee. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.